Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with me, your host. My name is Chad Medved. This is my podcast. Appreciate you being here this week. First and foremost, if you are a new listener to the podcast, let me just give you a little background on what I'll Call You Right Back is. So I created this about 8 years ago. I'll Call You Right Back podcast is a platform for the owners of the places that we love around the city. It's a way for them to come in here, and it is a platform for them to speak about their life's work. So if you think about it, every guest that I've had in here is someone who adds to the fabric of Pittsburgh in a way that makes our city the one that we love. You know, it adds to the city that we love, whether it's venue owners, whether it's chefs, whether it's entrepreneurs, whether it's artists, whether it's musicians. These people come in here and they tell me their life story, at length. A lot of podcasts are very short, very abridged, but I wanted to have a long form show so I could have people in here and give them an opportunity to talk about their trials and tribulations and how they got to where they are today. I've had all sorts of different people on here of all walks of life. So if you're new, I would urge you to, finish this week's episode, but then I would urge you to look back into the Rolodex and names of previous guests and just hit play on one of them. I'm sure that you will find some names that are familiar, and all stories that you will hear on this podcast are fascinating. I'm a little bit biased, but I just have to say that every single person that comes in here is coming in here to talk about their hopes and dreams and all the work that they put into what they do today. And it's pretty fascinating to hear these stories each and every week. In the past, I've had, the mom and pop shops in here, and I've also had some of the big names. I've had an opportunity to have the big names in here. I've had Edgar Snyder in here. I've had Sally Wiggin in here, Rick Seaback, Mikey and Bob. But beyond these names that everyone knows, I've had the Brillo boxes in here. I've had the Brown Bear Bakeries. I've had the Dagneys. I've had the Woolly Bear Books in here. I've had all these people in here, and I've heard their story, and I've gave them an opportunity to tell it from their own mouths, and it's something that I'm very proud of. So this week I sit down with another great guest that I do just that with. So Al Torrence is a fantastic musician who lives up in the Beaver area, and he is a studio owner. He owns Music Garden Studios up in New Brighton. He is a musician. He's a very talented guitarist. He is an audio engineer, and he is just a man that wears a lot of hats. This week, Al comes in and he tells me all about it, really. He tells me about from the time he picked up his first instrument to the time he first met Charles Wesley Godwin. So right now, currently, Al is on tour full-time as the lead guitarist in the Allegheny High, which is the backing band for Charles Wesley Godwin. So if you're not familiar with Charles Wesley Godwin, he's a Morgantown native who is, absolute powerhouse in the country music scene. Huge name nowadays, and Al has been with him from the beginning. So originally, whenever Al started playing music in high school, he decided to make it a career. So he ended up pursuing life after high school, going to college for music and audio engineering. I guess that's the same thing, but yeah, audio engineering. And after college, he started working at different studios. And at one point, he met a guy named Charles Wesley Godwin with his old band, Union Treaty Sound. And he had an opportunity to do some work for them. And it's kind of carried over until today. So whenever Al was working at different studios, he was working with a bunch of different people, obviously. Fast forward a little bit, Al opened his own studio called Music Garden Studios up in New Brighton, and he had another opportunity to work with Charles whenever Charles kind of took on a solo end of his project, and they've been together ever since. So Al has done all the production on all of the records that you hear on Charles Wesley Godwin's Spotify, and Al has kind of been the pillar in the Allegheny High. He put together the Allegheny High, which is made up of absolutely stellar musicians. I've had the opportunity to have a few of them on. Previously, Amico DiMuzio, who is the steel guitarist for the Allegheny High. I've had Nate Catanzarite on for the Allegheny High, who is the bassist, and I've just been kind of checking off all the names of all these boys in the Allegheny High, and it's been, each and every one of their stories have been fascinating in their own way, but I've always been very curious about Al because I know that he had this music studio. I know that he's been with Charles for quite a while. I know that he is one of the main music makers for Charles. Like Charles and him work hand in hand, and I wanted to hear more about it. So I invited him into the studio this week to talk to me a little bit more about what he does and all along the journey to where he is today. It's a fascinating conversation. We talk about everything from, playing music as a young kid to recording one of their first projects in Music Garden Studios with no heat, freezing to death, and it's just a really great conversation. Very happy to have these guys in. Very thankful for them to cut out some of their time of their life on the road to come in and sit here in I'll Call You Right Back Studios and tell me about it. And I am excited for you to listen to it. So without further ado, episode 309 of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with Al Torrence of the Allegheny High and Music Garden Studios.
I gotta use the telephone.
Hello?
Telephone.
I'll call you right back. Call you right back.
Telephone.
I'll Call You Right Back podcast.
What do you do?
I work, I design like piping, go to coal plants and shit, measure piping and fabrications, and then just draw stuff on AutoCAD. And that's pretty much my whole day. You guys are obviously doing music full time, but like, what did you do before this?
Construction.
Yeah?
Yeah, I worked construction out of college, kind of part-time, I would do half the day in the morning construction, and then the other half I would drive into Pittsburgh and work at the studio up there.
Yeah.
So
was that the one in South Hills?
Tree Lady, so that's like Turtle Creek area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I was doing research. I was trying to do research, and it was like, oh yeah, this studio's in the South Hills, and I was like, I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
You're from New Brighton though?
Well, Beaver, across. It's funny, like there's all the little towns. It's all within a small radius, but there are all these little towns, and Beaver's the like town across the river from New Brighton.
Okay. So
born and raised there, and then because of the studio that I own now, moved to New Brighton and then live above that. So
you live above the studio?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yep.
I didn't really know too much about it until obviously talking to like Amiko and Nate and them, and kind of like researching a little bit about it, and then I dived into it a little bit deep before you came, and like the history of the studio is fascinating.
It's something.
It really is.
Yeah.
I never heard of it before, and looking into it, like the story with that Jerry Reed guy and like the origin of it, kind of spurring from like him owning that restaurant and wanting to not have to pay for licensing, so he's like doing the local music. I was like, that's pretty cool to hear about. Did that open in 1975?
Yeah, they bought the place. It was an apartment before that. It's because it's an old Victorian house, and it was an apartment, and they bought it in the early 70s and then renovated it. And it's like mid 70s is when it opened. Depending on who you ask, you get mixed responses. Yeah. But somewhere around 75.
That's cool. And you obviously own that now, but I want to, before we dive into that, I'd like to rewind a little bit. So, you've been playing music your whole life?
Yeah. Begrudgingly when I was a kid playing music, and then it turned into something that I actually like doing. But when I first started, it was like piano lessons as a kid. Mom would make you go to it, and I'd bitch about it, be like, I don't want to do this. This is boring. I'd rather go play baseball. Which was funny because now pianos help me, understand music better than I could have ever done if just starting on guitar. Because every time I think about music, I think of a piano in front of me. So that was good that I was able to do that. But I'm super young when I started that. Saxophone through school, elementary school, and then high school, and then picked up a guitar. I don't know, like 7th, 8th grade, kind of like everybody when they start getting into the music that, rock music and stuff.
Yeah, their own music.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah.
Or did you come from musicians?
No. So my mom is a dance teacher. So I think the art side came from her. Mm. My dad is not a musician. He's a lawyer. And then his dad was not a musician, but I think my mom's dad, I think he could sing really well, and I think he played the guitar a little bit. So somewhere on that side it comes from. I
mean, it's interesting to hear that, like, from a young age you started playing, but that makes sense with your mom being like a dance teacher kind of.
Yeah, she valued the arts. But it was never like a full-blown idea of a career until later in high school.
Well, whenever you're growing up and you said you played the saxophone, mm-hmm. and was that like your choice, the saxophone?
Yeah. So like I went to Catholic school, and in the band, you pick like trumpet, saxophone, clarinet, the basic ones.
Yeah.
And my dad had some old jazz records that were like Stan Getz and Dave Brubeck and kind of like sax heavy stuff. So I think that's why I picked it. I can't remember though.
That's cool though.
Yeah.
Someone else I had on here talked to me about how they played French horn for a long time, and I was like, that's such a cool random instrument to play.
I know.
Because usually people are gravitating towards the guitar, the drums. Mm-hmm. But yeah, do you still play the saxophone ever?
Not at all.
Yeah.
No. It still sits in my house, but I don't play it anymore.
Just pull that out on stage randomly.
So I thought about it, and then I go to like practice it, and I'm like, it's way too rusty for this to ever happen again.
Well, in high school you're playing along, and you said that kind of in high school that's whenever it started to creep into your mind as a career.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's like you play music that people want you to play when you're in concert band or marching band or any of those things. That's all kind of music that's like picked out for you, and then at some point, I don't know. You want to play the music that you like to listen to, and the music that moves you. And for me, for whatever reason, it was like rock music or guitar music, that type of thing. And I don't know. I kind of idolized those guys that played guitar, looked up to them in ways that I don't look up to other types of musicians for whatever reason, when I was a kid. And, access to that was being able to play the instrument that those guys did. And so, asked my parents for a guitar in 7th grade or something. And I think I got some like shitty acoustic guitar to start off with, and then went to the local music store and got an electric guitar. And, it just kind of opens the floodgates from there. Because then you're able to play, you're able to make the sounds of the music that you love hearing. And I don't know, something about that connection was really strong for me, to be able to play the songs that I loved listening to.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Whenever you were first getting into the guitar, did your like musical ability did that like transfer at all, really?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, I think like, I don't know, music kind of just thinking about it as like a language. Like if you're able to get the foundation of it, the basis of it, just with any instrument, it all kind of translates, from instrument to instrument. It's just the format the instrument plays it on. So you're using the same notes that a piano plays that you do on a guitar. It's just laid out like a little differently. So when I was able to pick up a guitar, I still knew like what a G chord was. It was just the way you shaped your hand to like make a G chord.
Yeah.
Versus on a piano, it's this way, but a guitar is more this way. And I think I don't know, just maybe clicked a little bit quicker for me because of that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Were you like a lessons guy? Did you take lessons?
Kinda, yeah. I took lessons from he's my dad's cousin, so
the Granadis,
right? Yeah. So those guys were amazing teachers, but they're not traditional teachers. Like you don't sit there with sheet music and like read it. Like I would bring in a song to Dave and be like, I want to learn how to play this song, like Hotel California or whatever it is, and he would show me the chords to it, and explain why the chords are the way they are and how you can play notes over top of the chords that make sense of the key that you're in. So it was kind of a way to like learn guitar that wasn't so, like traditional, I guess. Like
you like skip through a lot of like the fundamentals because you already had them.
Yeah, but it's like a backdoor to the fundamentals because you're still learning like what key you're in and all the chords that you can play, but it's just framed in a way that you're like playing the music that you want to play. So it's, I don't know, as like a person who just wants to play those songs, it was way more fun to just learn those and then figure out why they are the way they are after. So you're kind of like building the foundation by learning the songs. And Dave has this way of kind of incorporating all that stuff together. So if they're like, oh, Hotel California is in B minor. If you want to play B minor pentatonic, it's these notes. And like, this is what works over top of this. And
that's cool. So it was like more of a direct. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's neat. That's cool that you had that as a resource.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. I mean, I don't know if I would have stuck with guitar if it was the other way. Because I wanted something that was just fun, basically, to play.
Yeah.
And at least back then, I never viewed piano as being that fun, and saxophone was more just a thing I did in school to, get classes and something to do. So, like, guitar was actually the enjoyable part of playing music for me.
Yeah, and when you kind of get towards the end of like your schooling and like at that point, are you pretty like well versed at the guitar by then, like end of high school?
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah,
and then you go to college and you realize you're not so versed as you thought you were.
Well, I mean, you're in that point when you're in your hometown. It's kind of a big fish in a small pond. Yeah. And then you go to that. Now, in high school, are you? I read you went to school for music. Mm-hmm. When did that kind of come into play that you wanted to do that?
I wasn't really thinking about it until later. Like it wasn't. I didn't think of it as like a viable career path when I was first playing it. So like for me, it was like, this is a thing that I do for fun, and I'm pretty good at it, and I enjoy it a lot. But adults go to college for other things. Like adults don't go to college for guitar. And the more I thought about it, like if I could go to college for something that I could have like a tangible thing to do, just not so much as just like go to college, get good at guitar, leave college. That felt a little too uneasy for me. So when I looked into colleges, the recording programs and songwriting programs, those types of things sounded more like something I could like actually work at while I was in college. That didn't happen until I was kind of more like 11th grade or so, just trying to feel it out and get an idea of what you want to do after. And also too, a little bit of it is in convincing your parents that, you're not just wasting time at a music school getting good at guitar.
Yeah. That's interesting to think about too, because nowadays it's like a little bit different.
Yeah.
Where it's like almost like a welcome thing, and it's more like, it's like more of a regular thing to go to school for the arts. But
I know.
I'm 35. How old are you?
33.
Yeah, I mean, like, basically the same age. But like my parents, like whenever I mentioned like, oh, I'd like to go for photography or something like that, they're like, yeah, you just need you need a secure job.
Right.
But nowadays, like kids that are coming out of high school, it's like, kind of the opposite, which is interesting. But that's why I kind of asked when that kind of came into your mind, because I felt like whenever I was coming out of high school, like I didn't really know what were possibilities out there.
Sure.
Like I only knew one guy that went to like film school at like Full Sail, and like that was like a legitimate career path, and he's working in film to this day. But to try to like explain that to a parent, at least my parents back then, it was like foreign to them to think that was like an outlet that was like a viable career.
Yeah, but music, it's like, so your friend who works in film, like at least that's a bit of an institution that you could work in, and so you work on film projects, or there's a bit of like an infrastructure surrounding that type of thing. The pitch to be a guitar player as a kid, I think, is a little bit harder, because you could potentially do like session work or something like that, but most of it is kind of just like freelance stuff, or be in a band and like hope to get famous or something like that. So it always, at least in my mind when I was a kid, it felt like, I don't know, it was a little more like uneasy ground to transition into, to just go out there and be only a guitar player. I don't know, like that felt like a leap that I just didn't have the like balls to do that back then. Just be like, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna be a guitar player, start a band, like see what happens. Like I didn't have that going into college.
So like going to music school and working production and everything like that, that was more of like a, you know, I get what you're saying now.
It just felt like something, like I'm in a studio, like, you know, this is a brick and mortar establishment. You know, like these exists outside of here. You can potentially go work at them in other cities, and like they, you know, have employees and you get paid to, you know, so it was all a little more traditional of like a career hierarchy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know,
were you, you know, doing any sort of production in high school? Like, were you recording?
Yeah, no, I loved it. Yeah, so that helped too. I mean, I had a little home like basement studio. You know, you talk about back in the day, that was, it's not like it was today where it's like you have the nice interfaces and stuff. That was like a pirated version of Sony Acid and a computer microphone. But even still, like it was something. And Dave, my guitar teacher, also, he worked out of his own studio. So I would go there and record on some stuff and like mic drums and just understand like how studios work and try to get a feel for that. And that's where I caught the bug for it, is doing all that stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah, so what I would do is like take a song that I loved, and then I would just remake the song like in my computer just exactly the same way. Like whatever the song was, I would just replay it, but play all the parts myself and try to recreate it as close as I could to it. And so there was something about that the pursuit of that felt like something right to me.
Yeah, can I replicate these sounds that I love?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
because I wasn't really writing my own music or anything. I never really got into that as a kid. So for me, it was more like, can I make something that sounds as good as something else?
Like, what was like your shit in high school? Like, what were you like listening to a lot that like inspired you?
I mean, it was all the 70s rock stuff. It was like Led Zeppelin. And,
classic.
Yeah, as classic as it gets. Like Black Sabbath and R.I.P.
I know. Terrible. We all knew it was coming. It's terrible. But so, I mean, you going to college and going to school for that. I mean, obviously, if you had experience doing it and you enjoyed it, I'm sure you liked it, right?
Yeah, no, it felt like something. It felt like I could take some usable skills I had before college and put them towards the next phase of whatever I was going to do. So I came like a little bit prepared, basically. I understood like how studios worked on a very minimal level. I mean, certainly not to the degree of like the Berkeley studios, you know, but
but you had some experience with it. Were you in any bands like growing up?
No, I mean, just high school bands. Like we'd get together on the weekend,
but nothing like super serious.
No, nothing serious. Like we would play with our friends. We played together, you know, just for fun. We might have like a show maybe once every so often, but it was never a thing. Like I have kids come in the studio now, they're not even out of high school and they're just like in bands for real.
Yeah,
writing bands.
I was never a musician or in bands, but like my best friends growing up were like very serious in, you know, metal bands and like that was like, you know, I was adjacent to it because I was just always around. I like watched them grow through it all. And to like see it all navigate was, you know, it was super cool. It was like something special. We all still talk about how, you know, incredible of a time it was to like grow up, because here, I mean, we had a pretty great music scene. So like there were shows every weekend.
Really?
Yeah.
In Elizabeth?
Well, not just Elizabeth, but like, you know, places like there was like infamous venues called like the Subculture, Club Octane and Charleroi, place Altar Bar, places like that.
Altar Bar,
obviously that's a little bit bigger, but like the small shows, it's like people were playing in people's basements, their houses, and it was just like, it was like well orchestrated. Even if it was in someone's house, it's like these dudes were 18, they bought a van, they were torn all over with just like, it wasn't anything like super big, but it was just, I don't know, it was cool to see people that you were around that were like doing things like that.
Do you remember the band name?
Yeah. First one was Murder at the Matinee, and then they transferred into Eyes Have Seen the Glory. And
a good name.
I'm still like best friends with these guys to this day. And he, it's just interesting to like hear about it because we're the same age, and like back then it was kind of like a weird thing, it was just like a weird thing to like pursue a band, to like try to like communicate that to the elders around us.
I know, that's how I felt. I had a best friend, I mean I still do, I see him all the time, but he had a band called The Fallen, and it was a 3-piece, and those guys played in his basement all the time, and then they would play shows, they had merch, they made CDs. Like I never did any of that.
Yeah, I mean that's cool though. I mean you took a different way to go about submersing yourself into that world. So were you like the guy that the people that you knew that played music came to record them? Yeah, we'd get together in my basement.
Started branching out and buying some interfaces back in the day, and then we would bring them over to someone's house and we would record that way, like really like rudimentary recording, but it felt like something.
Absolutely.
And getting like microphones to use and trying to figure out how to mic drums and stuff. That was the first time I would interact with music where I felt like I was really contributing to the bigger picture of it. It never felt that way when I would play in a band or like play guitar. I felt like I was doing it for myself, but being able to help people do it felt like something that I wanted to be a part of.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Growing up, I always thought it was, I'd be behind the scenes. I never thought I'd be a guitar player in a band,
ripping on stage.
Yeah.
Really? Like was that not like something that you so like you starting to play guitar from like a young age, like you never really saw yourself being like a traveling musician?
No, I mean as a kid you have fantasies of it, but it was never something I pursued. I never thought like this is my calling. Like I'm gonna go do this thing, this is what I'm here for. Like I never thought that.
So whenever you were dreaming of becoming a guitarist as a kid, was it more of like a session type of guitarist or something like that?
No, it was the idea of being a guitar player. Okay. That was all. Like I would watch like Led Zeppelin at Royal Albert Hall and like react to all the ways that Jimmy Page is playing guitar and like Pete Townsend and those guys, and I was like, man, that's so cool. But I never would take a step farther and be like, well, I need to start a band and write some of my songs and then be those guys. Like that's who I aspire to be. Like it was always just a childhood fantasy to watch those guys. But again, like taking that leap of faith and like committing yourself to being in a band, going out on your own, writing all those songs, like that is admirable, and that's something I never did.
It's like we talk about it now, it's like it's almost like at that period of time you're like wading through the mud, because it's like at that time you're putting your heart and soul into that, and you're putting it out there, and you're like, this is everything I have to give, and no one's listening to it.
Nobody. My parents maybe.
That's exactly it.
And make
first,
a CD.
Like 4 years of this podcast, it's like your parents and your couple loved ones, but then it's cool that it kind of morphs into what it does. So you go to Berkeley and then you go through school there, and like what happens when you're done?
Well, the thing that kind of happens, I guess, when everybody's done with college is you got to figure out what to do next. And so like traditional avenues outside of Berkeley would be like you find internships. If you're in the studio, program, then you kind of transition out and you can find some internships at bigger studios. Berkeley has partnerships with some studios, or you can do like the summer internships in between each semester, and you can form a relationship while you're at those summer internships, and then when you graduate you contact the studio and be like, hey, I did this internship, maybe we can bring you on board, and you could work at the studio, something like that. So typically places you go to are the big three, right? Like New York, Nashville or LA.
Yeah.
And I thought about doing all of that, but something about working at a smaller studio in a smaller city felt like, for whatever reason, I could like actually get to work quicker. I didn't have to make coffee and tea and like clean bathrooms in a studio for years until you finally like work up to be an engineer there. So for me, I was like, well, if I move back home, maybe I could work at a studio in Pittsburgh, and maybe I could start working with bands quicker because it's not as competitive of a market. You know, not everybody's moving there. Maybe I can go do my own thing or like forge my own path or something. There's something about competing with every other kid from your class into the same cities that they're all going to that like turned me off to that idea.
Yeah.
So looking at it, you know, I graduated and just moved back to Pittsburgh and just put a bunch of applications out to all the studios in town, and also started working construction around that time.
That's where it comes into play.
Yeah. So, you know, obviously you don't make a ton of money part-timing at studios, so you have to figure out something else to do.
So obviously Music Garden Studios now is yours, but were you aware of Jerry's recording beforehand?
No, I had no idea.
Okay. I didn't know if that was like some like legendary place from like, you know, anyone up at Beaver that knew about that.
I think it is. I think if you are of that generation, you know about that place. If you're a musician who grew up around that time, 100% you would know Jerry's. Like, it's a little hard to put into perspective nowadays what Jerry's was in the 70s, because now like everybody has access to a computer and microphones and a way to record and a way to play back, and everybody has speakers and treated rooms. You know, you can buy like acoustic foam on Amazon and stuff, but there was a dividing line back then in the days of like tape, to where you had to put a significant amount of money down to get into the studio business. Like, you couldn't just do it for a couple $1,000 and just get up and running. Like, tape machines, boards, microphones, it costs like tens of thousands of dollars to start that stuff. So Jerry's was not just like a good studio in the Beaver County area. It was just a good studio like no matter where you went. In Pittsburgh, Cleveland, like all the big cities around here knew about Jerry's because they had a full 16 or 24 track tape recorder. They had a full 24 track board. They had great microphones. They had sound treated rooms. They had multiple rooms for guys to record into. Like, this was like a real studio. And even though it was built into a house, like, you know, back then, like, that's just what you did. You found a place and you put a studio into it, and it worked, and it was great. And like, people from all over came to that place. The thing was, the guys that owned it, Don and Jerry, you know, started it in the 70s. They weren't young. You know, Don was born, I think he was born in the 40s. Don's like 80 some now. So,
wow.
So, you know, by the 70s, he'd already like been to war, and he came back, and he was a great guitar player, and he and Jerry started the studio, and it only could go for so long until they just couldn't sustain it anymore.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is, like, when I started to grow up, what Jerry's recording was when I was a kid wasn't anything what it used to be. Like, it was still owned and operated by Don, but it was just kind of like this passion project that he would play around at. Like, his buddies would come down, and he would record a little bit, and he would have some projects in and out of it. But it flew under the radar when I was growing up because it wasn't very active anymore. So I didn't really even know about it until when I moved back home and would do like searches online of studios. This studio in New Brighton would pop up, like the old articles from it would pop up. And it took me at least a few years of being back home and working in Pittsburgh. It took a while until I actually like knocked on the front door and met those guys and saw what was going on in there.
Wow. That's pretty interesting. It's kind of like a, hidden gem.
Yeah.
It makes sense though. And it's like kind of fascinating to hear about like, what it was back then, because nowadays, like you said, everyone has this shit, at their disposal. You can go to Guitar Center and just grab it.
Yeah.
Kind of like,
I mean,
make it work in some way.
The home studio market's enormous. I mean, everybody has a little home studio now. In Nashville, like it's almost a requirement to be able to work out of your house, because the gear is so good that you can get such a good sound out of your home that as a session musician, like you almost need to have that stuff.
Yeah.
But again, like back then, the barrier to entry of a studio was not just like an interface and some headphones. It was a full-on recording studio.
Yeah. So when you were working in Pittsburgh for them few years before you got this studio, you wanted to open your own spot?
Yeah. So like the more I worked in studios in the Pittsburgh area, the more it became evident to me that the budgets for making records are small to begin with. And when you start slicing the pie between, you have to pay the studio to record there, and then you get one little chunk of that pie as the engineer working on the project, like it just kept getting smaller and smaller of a slice, to where the only reasonable way to make a living out of it to me seemed like you have to just own and operate the studio yourself in a capacity that you don't get killed by overhead. You could do it your own way. You don't have to hire out a bunch of different engineers to come in and fill time, right? So you can work in it as much as you want, but you can also work at the pace that you want, where you can make good records and artists can be happy, and you're not having to like run people in and out of the door every day just to cover your monthly expenses.
Yeah.
So that like idea is what I wanted. I just wanted a place that could fully facilitate a band in its general capacity of like 5 to 6 people at a time, make great music, not be subservient to the overhead that the business has. So like, how can I pay for heating over the winter if you have this big building and you feel like you need to just generate income just to keep it afloat? Like, that's not the type of business that I wanted to run. So when Jerry's eventually came into picture for me, it seemed like a place that it was in a house. It wasn't a big giant like commercial space, or I wasn't renting from somebody, because I didn't want monthly income to be determined by your landlord. And infrastructure is a big thing too for studios. So like you have to build the place out, and if you don't own the building, you put all that money and time into getting it right, and then maybe the landlord just sells the building out from under you or something like that. So Jerry's, for me, just like it checked all the boxes of you can own this place because it's a house. So you just buy a house. It comes with a studio. It's a good enough room where you can work in it. The gear's good. Location wise, it's not terrible. It's like 20 minutes from the airport. Pittsburgh's just down the street. You're from here, so you know people. You don't have to move to another city and try to like learn a new like place to live on top of running a business. So, the more you thought about it, like I don't know, it just seemed to make more and more sense to me.
Yeah. And I mean, and you like, so when did you buy that?
2017.
And you bought that 2017, and I read somewhere that like you mentioned the gear of it. It was cool that it had all that stuff in there, and like you said, it kind of had an infrastructure that you didn't have to like completely build out again.
Right.
It had the bones.
Yeah.
Now, whenever you went in there, did you have to do like a lot of updating?
Yeah. So like, I could have never afforded it if it was like completely updated, renovated, new studio. I mean, like, you're talking a big amount of money to buy a house plus a big fancy new studio in it. I think the reason why I was able to make it work is because the studio needed so much work that I was able to do the work myself with the construction background that I had. So 2017, I bought the place in January and started renovations in January and worked basically for a year straight of getting the place back to modern standards, basically.
Holy shit.
So like we ripped out all the old carpet off the walls and the ceilings, basically got it down to bare studs again. They didn't have a Pro Tools rig, so I updated the computer systems and put Pro Tools in there. Rewired a lot of things that made sense, like headphoning, like little things you don't think of, like the way they would run headphones versus like the modern way of running headphones. It's totally different. So updating that stuff. Also just the basics of the house, like heating and electric and plumbing, all that stuff needed updated. So I figured I only really had one opportunity to do that when I bought the building, and I didn't want to shut the place down again to do it all. So the first year was no recording. It was just tear it all down and then just put the studio back together after that.
Wow. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was a lot.
It's a unique story though, with like how, kind of all, unfolded and like that being in a house. I didn't know anything about, what it looked like or anything up there, but now that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Young dude that's like, trying to like do it himself. Like you said, it would be astronomical to just like buy a place and rebuild it out how you want it.
Yeah. Yeah. If you had to pay somebody to do it, like an architect or anything like that, like that's a lot of money. If you bought a studio that was up to the standards that you wanted, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So the only way I could make it work is to buy a studio with potential.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And just go from there.
Makes more sense now.
Yeah.
So when you ended up opening that up, what was like your approach to it all? You just like, open your door and say, I'm ready to record your music if you need it.
Yeah.
Like, did you have like a network of people that were coming to you, or did you kind of have to like go out there and like, get your name out there?
It was like the time working in Pittsburgh gave you a network a little bit, but you still have to prove to people that you can do it.
Yeah.
So the approach was like, if I can get you in the door, I basically will work for whatever you can afford at that point. Whatever your budget is, you tell me, I will work for that. Like, I couldn't set prices because I didn't have the body of work or the repertoire to justify prices that I wanted to set. So for me, it was like, I will work for you. Whatever you can afford, we'll make it work, and I'll do the best I can. And the next time around, if you like it, then you're going to pay me.
That makes sense. Give me an opportunity. Let me show you what I could do.
Exactly.
And then I'll prove my worth.
I need to prove it this one time, but if we do another record, I'll charge you my standard rate.
Were you pretty selective on the type of work you were doing?
No, any and all, whatever. If I liked your music, or if you were passionate, even if I didn't really like your music, but you liked your music and you were passionate about it, come on in.
Yeah.
We'll make it work.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that's got to be exciting to like try to just like, get it started.
But it's also Pittsburgh, so like you don't have the luxury of, I don't know if it's a luxury, but you don't have the baked in scene of one or two or three specific types of music that you play. So for me, it was like some punk rock, like hip hop, singer-songwriter, rock bands, country bands, like whatever. You get any and all types in Pittsburgh. I mean, you know how it is.
That's why I asked if you were like selective, because like I didn't know if you were like, you kind of stayed with like, I like rock and roll, I record that's what I'm good at. But it makes sense that you have to be well versed with everyone. There's a lot of hip hop around here, a lot of all sorts of different music.
Yeah.
And so you got like you recording up there. When does Meet and Charles and Union Sound Treaty? Is that right? Union Sound Treaty.
Mm-hmm.
What year does that happen?
The year it happened was 2016.
Oh, okay. That was before you had the studio?
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
How did you, well, so, I mean, are you pretty busy, like, before you had the studio, doing, like, production work?
Yeah. Not busy enough to quit construction, but busy enough to where every time I would drive up to the studio, I would have something to work on and kept projects moving. You know, again, it was like there was never enough studio work, or at least enough money that I made where I could tip over into just doing that full time. I still needed the steady income of like construction, because like I could at least guarantee that this week I'd make this much money, and whatever I made in the studio, I was just whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It was so uneven of the income, because again, like, you know how you're saying you commuted to work every day, you know, that flow of your day where that big long commute, then you get to work and you do as much work as you can, and then you got a big long commute on the way home. Like, especially record making too, I feel like you need to just like live in it to make records, and I was not living in it at all while working in Pittsburgh. It was like I'd get there, I'd do as much work as I can, but then the studio would be needed by somebody else, so I took the work home and like worked on headphones and tried to get that done. But it just wasn't the way that I wanted to work on music. But the way I met Chuck was that the previous band he was in had used Tree Lady recording to do some overdubs on a project that they had recorded somewhere else, and they needed to finish it up. And they, you know, are based out of Morgantown, and they were looking at studios, and they thought the best place to go to for quality work would be to come up to Pittsburgh to work. And so Ross, who is actually now our front of house engineer, he was the drummer in the band, Union Sound Treaty. Ross reached out to a bunch of different studios and found that Tree Lady would be a place that they felt like they could get the work done that they needed to. So they reached out to Tree Lady and emailed the place, and being a secondary or third engineer there, it first came through the email, and then it kind of gets passed down a little bit until somebody's like, hey, you know, Al, this band needs to do some like electric and acoustic guitar overdubs. Like, do you want to do it? And I was like, sure, yeah, that sounds good to me. So the guys came in, and they started just, you know, a couple times come in. I remember back then I recorded a bunch of like Charles acoustic guitar for that project, and that's how I got to know him, because those are one-on-one sessions. So I was able to like get a sense of like who he was back then just by working with him, just me and him, instead of like the whole band working together. But yeah, that was the first time I met those guys.
And then you get Music Garden Studios, and I read that that they came up there for Needle Fall Down to record there, because you did like live sessions or something. Was that true?
Yeah, so that was just another like tactic to get people through the door. Was my buddy Cody would record, like, sorry, he would film them. He would do video work for the session, and then I set up the studio to where everybody could play live and it'd be recorded at the same time to video and sound. And the pitch was like, for a small fee, come to Music Garden Studios, come all set up, play 3 songs. My friend will video you while playing songs. We'll put it all together, and then you could put this on YouTube and have like live in studio videos.
It's a pretty good idea.
It was something.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's cool. As someone who's not a musician and more of just like a fan of it all, I love that sort of like Tiny Desk vibe. Yeah. You know, I feel like that is pretty unique for anyone who enjoys any music, just because it's more of a intimate, you get to hear things on a more raw level, even though it's in a studio, and it just looks cool. Like you got to have some visuals with stuff.
That's what I liked about it. I thought it looked super, super cool. and we would do the best we could. We would just string like Christmas lights around, and like I have like Edison bulbs that we would put up just to kind of get like some vibe going or something. But yeah, there's like, I think it's like Audio Tree or something like that on YouTube that does a lot of in studio videos that I was really influenced by. It just seemed like a thing that, you know, you have the capabilities and the space to do it, and it's something that you could offer a band that's like pretty quick to turn around. It only takes a day out of their time, no overdubs, and you can offer them this product that, you know, benefits them for promotion. They get to put it on socials or on YouTube, and it was kind of a win-win, like on both sides of it.
Yeah, you were able to get your hands in there and work a little bit, kind of prove yourself, and, you know, obviously that, you know, kind of unfolded into something more. You know, how do you go from being behind, you know, the boards to, you know, absolutely just ripping on a guitar on the stage with these guys? Like, how does that kind of, you know, morph into that if you're someone that always like kind of saw yourself being behind the scenes?
Necessity, I guess. It'll
find a way.
Yeah. You just keep doing it until it either falls on your face or it becomes a thing, and then you either regroup and do something else, or look back and be like, how the hell did all that happen?
Yeah.
I mean, it was literally like, you know, around those times when I was doing those videos with Chuck and the guys at Union Sound Treaty, they were good, man. That was a good band, but it just wasn't Chuck's vision, and the band was on its way to splitting up. And you know, it's one of those things where if you can provide something for somebody and they value that, and then in turn, you know, everybody's kind of filling in the gaps, then like, you just, I don't know, you know, when it works well that way. Like for me and Chuck, I was able to provide a studio. I could record his music. He needed a guy to produce his records, and he needed to get his music out. And we were both at the exact intersection where we were able to like sink our teeth into something where we were like really passionate about it. Like it wasn't just another project, I guess is all I'm trying to say. Like I wasn't so busy that like I could only fit him in on a few Saturdays. It was like, I want to do this record with you, and this is the record that I'm going to work on for the next like 3 months. And I think there was value that he saw in that. You know, this is a guy who like really cares about the music. It isn't just like another client in the studio. He like really cares about it.
Yeah, and you could see that.
Yeah. And again, like Chuck didn't have a band, so you know, I was able to provide the band for him because he was out on the road like doing acoustic shows. So, you know, how is he going to put together a whole nother band for his record? And I don't know. I think it's like I was able to lighten the load at the time for Chuck, and it allowed him to keep doing what he was doing, which is going out, playing music, doing the acoustic shows. And for me, like I was working away on making the record sound as good as I can. And it was, I don't know, it was just kind of a symbiotic thing. Like I would send him versions of the record that I would come up with, and he would either say like, yeah, I love it, or maybe we could tweak this. And it was a back and forth thing. And then when he was back in town, he would come in and we would just keep working and picking away at it. And then, I don't know, one day we sat back after the record was done, and it just felt like something was there. Yeah, something special, I guess.
Something was there, yeah. That's cool. I mean, you, while you're recording as like a studio owner that's like producing music for people, and you're doing construction and stuff like that, are you still actively like playing guitar like regularly?
Only on records.
Yeah, I figured so.
Yeah. Again, it was like, I didn't have... I mean, I was in a cover band with Eric, so like we would have gigs on weekends. We would rehearse throughout the week for those gigs. We'd do some weddings and stuff like that. So like in that capacity, like definitely still being a guitar player, but not in a band or anything. Like,
Yeah. Are you writing music at this time?
No.
Okay.
No, not writing music. No, it was all the studio stuff. It was just me like working with people's music. That's what I love doing.
Yeah, that's cool. That's I mean, obviously I didn't know a lot about you, so it's like I have a story spun in my head of what I assume you guys, like how you guys came together. But that's cool to hear that, like, you know, how it kind of all the chips landed with that. So you recorded that first album with Chuck. We keep saying Chuck on here. You keep saying Chuck. People that are listening, Charles from Charles Wesley Godwin, obviously a big name now. But he, you know, you and him working back and forth together, and you build out this band while he's on the road doing these acoustic things.
Yeah.
You know, you obviously probably had a pretty decent network being a producer around here. It's like, you know, how do you approach building out a band that's good? Like, did you, at that point, did you know that you were going to be on the road with him?
I thought so, yeah. Like, it seemed like an opportunity. Like, why not? Because we were the ones who were playing on the records, and then if you need a band, just get the guys to play on your records, so the shows sound like the record does. It's the same people. Like, you know, we weren't doing anything else, right? Like, we were all just kind of like musicians just playing jam nights and pickup gigs and stuff like that. So yeah, like, once I saw that like thing present itself, it felt like something to work towards, and it felt like a reality then. It was
That's
like,
cool.
It was like, why not us? Like, we're good musicians, and we can help, you know, make this thing like a reality for Charles and for also us, and we all loved the music. Like, I think that also set itself apart. Like, we weren't just like session guys who just came in and played on it and left. It was like, this music's really good and we love it, and the guy who wrote it is amazing and like is a good person and cares about like the things that we care about, and we're kind of like bred from like the same places, like West Virginia, Pennsylvania. It's all kind of like Rust Belt, grassroots kind of thing, and we feel that way, you know, similarly to like our upbringings. So it seemed to make sense, like, in the early days.
What year is this?
It was like
you start working with him full time.
It was like beginning of 2018, basically. So the studio had just gotten underway, and I basically did those videos, I don't know, like maybe early 2018 or something like that. And then we started working through the back half of that year through the winter. And the reason I remember that is because when we made that record, I didn't have a good enough like heating system in the studio. So we made Seneca, and it was completely frozen in the studio. Like the toilet was frozen, none of the water ran right, because just like it was the first real like winter I spent in, because 2017 was all construction, and then I opened in the spring of basically 2018, and I didn't know like how cold the inside got, and so by the winter of that year I just was completely unprepared for winter, and the whole studio froze. And so like Joey, you know, drummer Joe would have to dump like hot water into the toilet to defrost it, and we'd have little like space heaters at our feet, and like we would sit there like with like blankets on, like recording, because it was so fucking cold in the studio.
That's a funny story.
But yeah, no, that was it. But again, you're trying to just figure it out.
Yeah, you're just figuring it out. I love to hear it. I mean, when you start to, you know, I feel like it would almost be like a scary thing. It's like you created the studio, you get done building it out.
Yeah.
It's now a functional thing, and then you have this opportunity to go on a road with, you know, arguably someone who is, you know, at that point wasn't like as well known. So, you know, was that like Were you nervous about that?
Yeah, I was terrified.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of it.
Well, I mean, I think it like speaks a lot about like how you feel about him and the way he does his music and vice versa to like, you know, because I know that talking to Nate,
Yeah.
you know, he mentioned that at one point in time, you know, you guys were out there and Charles basically was like, hey, you know, I can't pay right now, but you know, however that conversation went down, but all you guys were like, all right, like, let's just still do that. So, I mean, to be able to, obviously if he was an asshole, I don't imagine a group of guys like you would be like, well, that ain't going to work.
No, yeah.
But that's cool to hear that like that period of time like kind of happened, and you know 2020 comes around and you know all that craziness happens. I mean you guys are just touring.
Yeah, lightly. But see, that was the thing. Like, I think seeing the way that Charles went about his career. So, you know, earlier when we were talking, we were saying like music as a career, to me, before I got into it, felt like a nebulous, like, just get out there and try it and see what happens. But Charles managed to, just the way he thinks, like he's able to compartmentalize a music career and distill it down into like a very like sustainable, like organized way of working. Like for him, it's not like I just get out there and see what happens. It's like I need to write these songs, and then these songs will let me book these gigs. These gigs will let me get a record label. The record label will let me, and it's all just like a way of thinking that like I never thought was possible while doing music. So like when he first came to us, you know, after getting the record done and it all through that, just even a guy who had gigs outside of Pittsburgh regularly was like a huge deal to us. To me, you know, like I only booked places around Beaver County and Pittsburgh because like I knew the people that owned those places. So this guy is getting in his car and he's driving to like different states and he's playing for people who have no relation to him whatsoever. They're not his family members, but they're coming out to the shows and they like even know the music like a little bit back then. Like a couple hundred people maybe at a show would come out, and like that was like baffling to me that you could do that. I just thought, you know, like never in a million years could you just like make that work.
Yeah, like harness that.
Yeah.
Just like kind of
just get out there and do it. Yeah. You just literally cool. Put boots on the ground and just go do it.
Yeah, that's neat. That's a wild story for sure. I mean, like how did you kind of come across, you know, the rest of the guys in the band? Is this just like through the network that you had? It's like I can't remember exactly, but you just knew Nate played bass and kind of tagged him in and he kind of was there and just never left.
Yeah, I mean, like it's funny looking back at it because like the reason, and I love Nate to death and he's the best bass player I know, but like even he will tell you that the reason he got a call to play on the record is because like he was the only guy I knew who owned an upright bass. So
right place, the right time.
Yeah, it was just like, well, I need an upright bass for this, and Nate owns one, or at least he has one. Yeah, he didn't own it actually. It was like his professor's or something, and that was it. Like and I knew Nate like before, and I love Nate's bass playing and everything, but it's not that. But it was like everything was so unstructured, and you don't, you know, like you look back at that at those times, like you don't know what the future holds, so you're just trying to get things done. And it was like I called Nate because he was the only guy I knew that had an upright bass, and Joe got the gig because for one, because he's an amazing drummer, but because two, I needed a drummer day of, and he showed up. Like we had a drummer lined up to do Seneca, and it just fell through. Like the day before the session, it fell through, and I called Joe and I was like, hey, like tomorrow I need you to play drums, can you do it? And he was like, yeah, I'll come down and play drums for you. And that's awesome. Got a drummer, you know, and
it's just cool to hear that
upright bass, and
that's how it works.
Yeah, you know, like I'd worked with Max. I did like his record. So need a keyboard player. Max is a keyboard player. He's an amazing keyboard player. And how did we get Reed? Well, he's Max's buddy. And I was like, I need a pedal steel player. And Max was like, I know a guy who plays pedal steel. And
everyone knows a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Eric, I mean, he's been my best friend forever. And we built the studio together.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. I was in a cover band with Eric out of college. And
playing what kind of music?
Just all kinds, just bar music. Yeah, just like the hits.
That's cool.
Everybody wants
Were you doing vocals?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And and like, you know, Eric also did construction. So when you need a guy to do construction, called Eric. And then I need a guy to like play guitar in this band. And you know, like, was it a great idea, like bringing a 7-piece out on the road when you're doing like opening spots for $50? Like, no, it's not a good idea. But is it a good idea, like looking back now that we've done all those gigs for all those years and we're the band that we are now? Is it a good idea? It's like, yeah, it's a great fucking idea, because we got to cut our teeth that way.
As a listener though, and as someone who goes to shows, like that's the types of experiences that make an impact and make you remember people's names.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. That's right place, right time.
That's it.
You got to find the opportunity and walk through the door when it's presented.
But how many of those stories do you hear, you know, from people who's right place, right time? I hear them all the time in the studio business. Like guys got sessions because the producer got sick that day or couldn't make his flight. And, you know, the guy who works at the studio just had to take that gig, and then now that's how they got their start on things.
Yeah.
So you just have to just be there, right?
I know. It's basically the origin of every single person that's been on this podcast is, you know, kind of just like how how their whole life's work came to be. And it's a lot of it is really just like, you know, the right place, right time. A lot of things like went wrong, and like there was one thing that went right, and it's like,
well, it's because I think you talk to a lot of creatives, right? Like people doing that stuff. So there's everything, but like there's no like set way to do it. It's not a traditional career path. Like you're not getting a law degree, working for a firm, and then eventually starting your own practice as a lawyer. Like this is like, everybody has a different story. Like everybody's story is different than everybody else's. And it's the thing, it's correct for that person and it works for that person because they did it their way. And it doesn't mean that you have to do it that way, but I think the common denominator of what you're saying is that like you have to show up, like you have to be available. You have to like be ready when the time comes.
Yeah.
So whether it's luck or make your own luck or whatever it is, like when the bell rings, you got to go answer the door.
Hell yeah. Whenever you guys start get ripping and like you are like hitting the road pretty hard. Like, I mean, I can't remember how many shows did you guys play last year? Like,
we did like under 100 last year. So it was like 80 some, I think.
I mean, that's a bit, you're on the road pretty much, you know, a good bit of the time.
Yeah.
Was that ever something that, you know, like, was that like appealing to you?
Yeah. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
I loved it. I still love it, but yeah, I loved it even more in the earlier days. You know, it's great now, but like back then it was new.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I loved about it. I never saw, you know, the country until we went touring in a van and you drove everywhere. So like everything was new. Going to California for the first time was new, like Pacific Northwest, Midwest, like all through the South, like just being able to do that for the first time, going to places that you've never been before, meeting people, playing venues that like you've heard about, and you know, you finally get to play those venues and things like that. Like it was so cool to start touring that way. And it's cool now in a different way, because it's definitely amazing, and nobody's complaining obviously, but like being able to do it the way we did it as a band, as a family, like as we are, like that. I mean, like if it all went south tomorrow, I'd still be happy that we got to do what we did, you know, in those early days, because it was just so much fun.
Yeah. Whenever you kind of, you guys were all like, was the whole band like kind of established whenever Family Ties record was being done? Mm-hmm. Like it was pretty much all there, right?
Yeah.
So did you do all of Seneca, mm-hmm. all the production on that one too?
Yep. Yeah. All of them, all of Seneca, How the Mighty Fall, Family Ties. It's just all been in-house.
All been in-house. So do you have like a different feeling, obviously not your professional, your profession is music production, but like you recording Family Ties, like I was watching like the little documentary that Lou put together, mm-hmm. and I don't know, like, did that feel different whenever you guys were doing that compared to like the other projects?
Yeah. That was the first time where we like immersed ourselves in a recording, in a project. The other times were, like I was saying, like, you do it when you can. Like Chuck had to do his stuff on the road. We come back and work on it. Family Ties was like 2 solid weeks of nothing but recording and long days. Like you have to figure it out that day. You couldn't sleep on it and come back to it like a week later because, you had the studio for that amount of time. So in some ways, like, it was an interesting process to just kind of like figure out something and commit to it and then move on because you knew you only had so much time to work on something. And I listened to that record and I think like there's so many like amazing things that came out of that process of just like figuring it out on the spot, rehearsing it a few times, putting it down, and then moving on to something else. I also listen back to that record and think like, maybe I could have made that better. Or like if I'd had more time, maybe I could have like fleshed out like a different part or just something. So like, there's always like things like that when I look back and you're talking about that one period of time. Like, I'm glad we got to do it that way because it was an amazing way to work. But with how we are now and the way that we work, would we do it again? I don't know. It's like you're almost like putting the pressure on yourself for a reason that maybe you don't need to.
Yeah.
It's like, it's cool to do it, but if you also have the opportunity to sit with something, make sure you get it right, put your best foot forward with it. Like, I like working like that too. So Family Ties for me was a really good learning experience. And I took a lot of things away from that session that really changed me as a producer, and I think changed the guys as musicians and proved that like we could work like bands could work. Like we can go in and like get shit done, and at the end of the day have like a full song like completely done, and then next day do the same thing. And that's like, I forget exactly how many songs are on that record, but like it's a big one. So there's a lot of work crammed into like 2 weeks of working.
I mean, it's an absolutely incredible record for sure. Whenever you're like, playing these songs, are you like the way that you guys record this? Does he write all the lyrics? Mm-hmm. And so you don't write any lyrics at all? No,
like, so the way I see myself is like, give me what you got and then I just want to make it better.
Okay.
So if there's a line I think maybe can make better, or if something doesn't make sense to me, like I'll always say something, but I always defer to the artist, like if they are attached to it for whatever reason, it's their song,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. You guys like recording now. I mean, do you use Music Garden? Mm-hmm. Is there like hoops that you have to jump through labels to like get approval to use places like that compared to like, Echo or something like that?
I think because we had a body of work to show to the label when Charles was signed, it proved that we knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
So I think if Charles was signed without records under his belt, I think they'd be more apprehensive to just let these guys run wild and make their own music, like on their own without somebody watching them.
Yeah.
That's a big ask for a label, especially when the label's like putting up the money to get the record done. So there's a lot of trust that goes into that. But because Chuck had 3 records in the can when he was signed, I think they looked at that and they were like, okay, these guys have made records before, so we trust them when they're making
They're not
more
dicking
records.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing too is like the studio, like it's always like a separate entity in itself. So like it's not just like my basement or anything. And I think that's what I try to like maintain with that place is like it's a business, and like I pay taxes on it as a business and operate it as a business. So like when labels came around and eventually when Charles was signed, it's not like he was just going to his buddy's house and making a record. It was like this was a studio before and it's maintained itself as one. Chuck's manager has been to the studio, so like again, like there's a level of trust that like gets instilled through all that, but at the same time, like this is a place where I worked at for a long time, so this is a business in itself too.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. It's interesting to think about that from that end of it all, because I mean you never know. Who knows? Yeah. I mean, whenever you guys are planning out, how you guys go out on the road and stuff like that, does it kind of like all come to you through like already pre-done, or do you guys like to kind of decide where yinz go? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's mostly just in the hands of the booking agents now. Okay. So they like to hit all the different markets around the country, and then it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like a 2-year thing, it seems like. So it's like when you're touring on a record, you hit the big markets, like the big cities and stuff like that. And then the year where you're working on the record, you kind of like hit the other markets that you weren't able to get to within that year. So like last year we played Pittsburgh. This year, we don't play Pittsburgh. But we've played a lot of other places like around the area and down through the Carolinas and stuff. So there's like a method to it. We have like virtually nothing to do with it at this point. Charles certainly does. I mean, he gets approval for the shows that he books, and like if he has an idea of a place that he wants to play or an area, like of course like he'll talk to the booking agents about that. But generally there's like a method to it, and you don't want to oversaturate your market. But you also want to make sure that you're not forgetting places, and you're playing far enough apart that you're not drawing fans from one city or the next when you're going from place to place. So there's really a lot of thought that like goes into the booking of it. Yeah,
it's fascinating to hear about it. I've talked to the guy who runs like 4-chord and things like that, and he's a touring musician too, and it's just like such a fascinating end of like the business that I feel like a lot of people just like don't really think about. As a fan of someone, we obviously like go to these shows and see them and enjoy their music, but like I mean it's so much work on the back end that goes through it all, and it's kind of fascinating to learn about it a little bit. Sure.
And the bigger places you start playing, the more guidelines and stipulations that come with playing those places. So like you have radius clauses that exist within venues where if you're playing a venue within a certain period of time, you can't play a show within a certain radius of that show, because the venue doesn't want you to draw tickets away from that show. So if you're playing in Pittsburgh, we couldn't play a show in Beaver County, for example, within 3 months of that show, because the Pittsburgh show, you want to sell all the tickets to that and not have some like competing show against that as well.
Yeah, so there's some method behind it all.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very interesting.
So like you need to make sure you travel a far enough distance from show to show to where you get the group of people who go into one show, but then they're also a completely separate group of people in the next show. You're not like sharing, the markets.
Like a Cleveland and a Columbus.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now it's kind of an interesting question. I'm curious about like whenever you guys are recording music for your first few albums, and then you record something, obviously like Now or like Family Ties, does the level of like, kind of does the level of pressure change really whenever you're like almost like a lower what's the right way to describe it without making it like a lower selling act compared to like you guys ripping it at Red Rocks headlining? Like, is there like a different pressure of like trying to create music whenever you guys get to that point compared to like whenever you're just like trying to make it, in air quotes?
Yeah, man, it's such a good question. It's like you don't want to forget what got you to the place that you're at, because obviously like what we were able to do worked well enough to get us here. So it's like you're doing something right, but you want to make new types of music as you progress, and you want to evolve, and you want to change your sound, like as it, you start to figure out like a little bit more who you are as an artist from record to record. So like the sound evolves and stuff like that. So obviously like you think about the way that your music is perceived by the people that listen to it. Like for sure, that's always in the back of your head as an artist. And like if an artist says that's not true, like they're probably lying, whether it's just way far back there or something like that. Like it definitely comes into play, because why wouldn't it? It's an incredibly important thing to do when you're making music. But I think like you have to have a level of authenticness for yourself and belief in yourself that the music that you make and the music that moves you is also going to be equally as moving for the people that listen to it. So, obviously like we could talk about like the term selling out, right, in this conversation, because it's like if you follow trends or you follow like what's the most important thing in pop music or something like that, then you're classified as a sellout basically, because you do that. And generally like the feelings around selling out are never good feelings. It's always a negative connotation when you do something like that. And I understand why, because it's not creative to sell out, and it's not artistic if you sell out. But like what makes you who you are and what makes you an artist, it changes as you get older and as you make more music. So like the music that Chuck has made in the early days versus what it is now, I think it's still just as good as it ever was, and we still try to like maintain what was the like secret sauce that was so good from the earlier records, and we want that in the new records too. But at the same time, like we want to like better ourselves as musicians and be better in the studio, and like maybe the first couple records were like a little rough around the edges, and like we want to like sure those up, like we want to like refine that. So there's always kind of like a level of refinement, I think, in your music, where you kind of look back at what you did and you're like, we did that last time, let's make it better this time around. So I guess the answer is honestly is like I really don't know how much influence the outside has ultimately on an artist's music, but I know, at least from our side of the street, like we try to stay with what we believe sounds good, and like what we love, not what the labels would love or like radio stations would love or anything like that. But like I think ultimately like we have to love it first, and Charles has to love it first before it ever sees the light of day outside of the studio. And whatever comes out of that, it could be, maybe something you've never expected or something you completely expect. It's just it's dependent on the song and like how Charles is feeling and the content of the song and the way that we record it and stuff like that. So it's just an interesting pursuit to try to make new music like that. You really are trying to like outdo your old self when you do stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly. And I'm sorry for like, kind of throwing you into that loaded question.
Oh, no, you're fine.
But the only reason that like, and forgive me for making the comparison, but obviously, Tyler Childers put out his new album, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, I just see what's being said online about it all. And it's like, completely divided. It's some people are like, this is incredible. And some people are like, I don't like any track on this. And it's like, obviously the guy is like an incredible musician who is, doing great work, but it's almost like the more popular someone gets, it's like deep down the root of it, you want the people that you love to grow and get bigger and get better and to, sell out all these incredible stadiums and everything. But also what comes with that almost kind of feels like, scary a little bit in my mind for an artist, because it's like you have all these other eyes on you and people are so fucking hypercritical now, where it's just like you can't even like put stuff out with without just getting berated by like death by 1,000 cuts with like all these people that are just like critiquing every little thing you do. So it's like, I don't know, you grow with that, and I just didn't know if that was like something. These are literally just questions that I think about.
No, they're great questions. I mean, like in Tyler's perspective, like it seems like half of the people just want him to make Purgatory again.
Yeah.
And so you say like, I get why a fan would have that response. It's like Purgatory is an amazing record. It's like one of the greatest records to come out of Appalachia, and it completely like transformed music. So I understand it, but at the same time, like, why as a fan would you want an artist to remake the same record that he made already?
100%.
It's like he did that already.
I feel like the people that like critique it are the people that are complaining about him not playing Feathered Indians at shows. That same type of like,
as if it's that simple.
You know
what I mean?
You know what I mean? But I don't know. It's just like the mentality of like all of it going into this. You would hope that people would share. Whenever I say you, I mean me. Like I would hope other people would share. Like for you guys, for instance, it's like I'm just like pumped to hear what you guys put out, because I like to hear, whether it be a small change or like just something different. But like, I remember listening to Family Guys or Family Ties at Healing Appalachia whenever you guys dropped it that night at midnight. And it was just like such a, there was tracks on there that you just like, I didn't expect, like
Q-Country.
It's like, you just didn't expect that.
Well, it's a good example of like, and I think we're finding this too, like even if we go for a track that is more like produced, meant to be played at a football game, that type of vibe, like, I don't know, like we still listen to that and it's like we still kind of just play the way we play. Even if like the approach to it is a little bit different, or like maybe the drum sounds a little bit different. Like we've actually tried going outside of the box and trying to sound completely different. And what it comes down to is that we just sound the way we sound. So like the idea that you can really like go and reach for something so far out of your wheelhouse is kind of like, at least in our world, it doesn't exactly just work that way, right? Like if you're gonna go for like this like super highly produced like Wallen track or something like that, it just doesn't happen. Like you really have to like make that the thing that you're going for. And I just think like in Tyler's case, like, man, he put out an album where like his whole band is playing on it. He's clearly writing music that speaks to him and the music that he loves and the feelings that he loves. And the guys who play on it are all great players. And like, I don't know why you wouldn't like that. Like,
I don't know either. I don't get it, but there's so much of it. That's why it was like, kind of fresh in my mind. And obviously, you guys are the closest that, you're the closest person that I could ask on why, what the mentality is behind that. But I don't know. It's kind of, whenever you see that shit online, it's kind of like, it's disappointing because, you just want like people that you like to just like, get positive out of what they put out.
I think the irony to that is what you're saying, which is like, if you want an artist to have the freedom to make new, inventive, creative music that still like is good and moves you, you should be supportive of their new endeavors. That they
cultivate that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
right.
cultivate that. See what grows into it.
Yeah, like be welcoming of it. Like like Can't Take My Hounds to Heaven. Is it my favorite Childers record? Probably not, but like I still love it for what it is.
Yeah.
Like it's a whole different vibe that is not like any other record. And like if he had to make that record so he could make the next record, like I'm fine with that too.
100%.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's
just music,
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool to hear about. So I mean, obviously, you guys now are just ripping. You guys are out on a tear. Red Rocks is October. I know that's a huge thing, which is, congrats for that. I mean, that's going to be cool. I bought tickets to that. We're going to go out and check that out.
Oh, yeah.
But, is it like, you've been given opportunities now where you guys are playing like these incredible places. Is it like weird for you to do this?
Yeah, definitely. It's super weird.
Yeah. Well, it's so strange because the whole beginning of our conversation, you were like, I always kind of envisioned myself as being like behind the scenes, just like making other people's work more beautiful. But you're an absolutely incredible guitarist, and like the presence that you shake your head all you want, but the presence that like you, not even just you, but like all of you guys put on stage is like, it's really something special. But like, I see the videos, are you like up on stage and it's like, do you like that feeling now? Like, do you like being like out there as being part of it rather than being like, an instrument behind the scenes?
I like doing it with my buddies.
Yeah.
Mostly. Yeah. I mean, I love like performing and I love playing. I love like the thrill of playing. Like there's really like not many like feelings I can find that match something like that. Like I'm 100% an adrenaline junkie for that type of stuff. So like it's like a high like you get, like you can't find just like doing something else, it's like such a specific little moment. So it's only like maybe 2 hours, but like that moment is like, it's a big moment.
Yeah.
For any show, not just Red Rocks or whatever. And like, I've grown to like really love that thing. Like I love like the mounting pressure of like working towards it. I love like achieving the thing that like we set out to do. Like we want to play a great show tonight. Like let's go play a great show, and then you do it. It's like that's such a good feeling to me. It only is amplified because I get to do it with all the people that I like love in this world. So like if I was just like a session musician or like a gun for hire, like in a band, like I just don't see myself like feeling that way about it if I didn't have the connection to the people I was playing with. And that's no knock on people who do it. I'm just saying like me personally, like what gets me going and like what keeps me coming back is that the fact that I get to do it with like those people specifically.
Yeah.
So like, and I've heard people say it like, oh yeah, you guys look like you're having like so much fun on stage and like all that. And it's like 100% true. Cause like, it's like, you can't really like fake that part of it, at least as far as I know.
Yeah.
And like, again, the idea of being able to like play music for a living is one thing, but then getting to do it with some of like, I mean, I've known Joe Pinchotti since I was like 11 and like now I get to like play Red Rocks with him.
Yeah.
So,
like that's so dope.
That part of it just like makes me cry for real because it's just, you never thought like something like that would happen with you. I mean, if there was another world where like I joined a band of guys I didn't know and got the call to play Red Rocks, like it wouldn't feel the same to me.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, I mean it's really cool to hear about.
Yeah.
And it's it's appreciative that you share some of that with me. Now, whenever you are not playing shows and you're like on the road, like what do you do to take up your time? Are you like a reader or something?
No.
What do you do?
We've been golfing.
You're a golfer?
Yeah.
Were you always a golfer or is that something new?
No, always a golfer. Yeah.
That's good. Are you decent?
Yeah, pretty decent.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. I enjoy it. I'm not good at it, but I enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's that got to be a cool part to like, kind of be out on the road and like being able to like hit different golf courses.
That's lately it's been great. Like the van days was not as convenient for golf now as it is. So like now, like, like we have the ability to get up the morning of the show where in the place we're going to play at, instead of like the van, you'd have to drive all throughout the day just to get to where you're going. So one of the things of having a bus is like it drives through the night and then you get up and you have the morning to do something. So it was only been really the past like maybe year that I've started utilizing that as like the time to get away and go play.
That's cool.
Got Truck into it, so he's playing a lot. Nate just got a set of clubs, so he's gonna play. Yeah, he did.
That's cool.
So, yeah, it keeps me going for sure.
Are you a morning miles guy?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, I asked Nate, and he was like, "Absolutely not."
Yeah, I'll go out with Charles. He's getting crazier and crazier by the day with it. Like he's going farther and farther.
Yeah, I mean that's cool though. I mean, like you gotta gotta have your thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, whenever you're just like back here, it's like, what do you do for fun? It's like, what do you do for your mental? Because I know, obviously being on the road, it would be dope. And like you're out there and you guys are doing it, but traveling, I'm sure like, it comes with its negative aspects at all, but it's like, what do you do when you come home?
I just work more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just work in the studio.
Yeah. I don't know. Same thing with me. It's like, I go to work, come home, work on this shit. On this, yeah. On the weekend, I'm working on other shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just like to be busy kind of.
That's it, man. Yeah. I play golf too back home. Like that's my alone time, the not music thing. But majority of the days it's like something to do with the studio, something to do with touring, something to do with the band. There's always something to work on.
Yeah.
And like you said, like being busy, I just can't, I can't sit around. I can't like just veg out. So like I got to do something. And one of the benefits of living in the studio is you get to go there every day, but the downside is that you can really like never leave that place because you're always living there.
Yeah.
So it's a blessing and a curse in some ways.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Well, I think you think I was pretty thorough about your life. I think we were pretty well versed on.
I think you got it all. Yeah.
Who you are. I think you got it all. I think you got all 33 years of my life.
Yeah, I was gonna say you started pretty early. So.
No, it's dope to hear about it all. Obviously, I'm a big fan. I appreciate you and the other guys that have been in here, and it's cool to hear about it all. Just because it's cool that you guys are just like in proximity.
Yeah.
You hear about these other musicians that you like, whether it be whoever, but just to hear about from a guy from Morgantown and another group of band of unsung heroes up in Beaver, it's like it's just cool how you guys got a cool origin story. That's really what it is.
We appreciate you too. Being able to give platforms to band members and stuff like that, like I think that's an important thing too. Like those guys have amazing stories, and like they work so hard. It's not just like one guy's working hard and everyone else is following in line. Like it takes a village to make it all work. And like a lot of times musicians in that capacity don't have the opportunity to talk to a guy like you and talk about like what it takes to just do that day in and day out. So like being able to just shoot the shit, tell stories and stuff like that, I think it's really useful for working musicians too as well.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Okay. So I do an ending segment with everyone. It's an ending segment called Desert Island Questions.
Oh God.
You don't have headphones on, but it's playing some drums. But anyway, Desert Island Questions, whenever I give each guest 3 categories to take with them on a desert island and use until they starve to death and die. First category is movies. So if you guys are, you're stranded on a desert island, you have 3 DVDs for the rest of your life, what would they be?
The Matrix.
Hell yeah.
You like
it's really an unreal movie. When's the last time you watched it?
Last year.
See,
Yeah.
before last year, the first time I watched it was probably like whenever I was like maybe 13 or 14.
Me too. I was way too young.
Yeah,
to
way
watch
too
it.
young,
Yeah.
dude. And you watch it and you're like, this
Yeah.
is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That came out in like 98 or something. And you're like, these dudes were way ahead of their time.
Well, not only were they ahead of their time, but it looks just as good.
Oh, yeah,
It's like
it does.
movies that come out like now.
It really does look incredible.
Literally insane.
Okay, that's a great answer.
Yeah. Honestly, like any Nolan movie, like I'm a big Inception guy. Love that type of stuff. And then I gotta go with maybe like a lighthearted movie. So I'd say like Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore. Did you watch the second one?
Not yet. Not yet.
Man, it's rough. It's rough. It could have been worse.
So I've heard.
But, I feel like, it's like one of the movies you just have to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're a fan of the first one, you almost are like required to watch it at least 100%. One time the second one.
Yeah. So you said you're not a big reader.
I try to be.
Well, what if you have a book like that you could take with you? I usually ask people books to take with them. You have anything offhand?
I've been reading The Odyssey. I've been picking away at it. Actually, because Nolan is making the movie The Odyssey, so I've been. I was like, well, I got some time to kill. I haven't read The Odyssey before, so I've just been reading that. And
pretty good.
Yeah, it's dense long.
Read.
It's dense. Yeah. It's not something you just breeze through.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not that big of a reader, but I'm definitely going to pick through the Odyssey. It's like the most intimidating book to start with.
Dude, I'm not making very, very much progress in it, but I'm trying.
That's all right. Okay, so let me switch it up. Instead of 3 books that you take with him, what's your favorite venue that you played at?
Ooh, I like playing the old venues. Like I like playing like Kane's Ballroom.
Where's that at?
It's in Tulsa. It just feels like something like, so like a lot of the newer venues are amazing because they have great showers and hot water and like a lot of green rooms and stuff, but they kind of like lack character a little bit. So like when you go to Kane's, it looks like an old like gymnasium, and they have one of the green rooms that's like built into some like weird like stone room with like wood and stuff in it. And it's just like something you wouldn't do if you were to build a venue nowadays.
Yeah.
So like a place like Red Rocks is the same way, like a very like amazing design that's just built into this thing that was, you couldn't just like build a bunch of concrete and make those rocks.
And I'm not like taking anything away from like Stage AE, but like a newer place like that, it's like obviously the accommodations are probably the best, but it,
absolutely,
like you said, the character. But I think Amika said Bob's Garage. Is that a place? Bob's? It was like a bingo hall or something.
Oh, Billy Bob's
or something like that. Yeah, places like that sound like a little bit, like you said, have a little bit more character.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, you could do like line dancing at Billy Bob's. They have like, it's a crazy place. They have the cattle that goes down the street too during the day too. So like, yeah, places like that are super cool. Old theaters are really cool. We played a place, I think it was in the Pacific Northwest. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it was an old dance hall, and they spring-loaded the floors back then. So when people would dance, you wouldn't have like the same impact on a hardwood floor that you would have. And this thing was in like maybe the 4th or 5th floor of this building. So you were up high, and then they somehow built this floor on springs, and you walked on it and actually had like some give to it. So
it's pretty cool.
Really cool, yeah.
That's
I think just
neat.
places like that have character. That's what I would say.
Makes sense. What kind of guitar do you play?
So I play a Jaros guitar. Jim Jaros is from Freedom, Pennsylvania, so like up my way in Beaver County, and he is a guitar luthier, and he builds all of them by hand. So
that's sick.
He's built me, I don't know, 4 guitars now. Yeah, they're so nice. I mean, like something about starting with just like the piece of wood and the idea, and then just like watching him work through the whole process of carving it, and then you're picking like the different inlays and the hardware and stuff and the types of wood. I don't know, it's like gets my juices going.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What's your favorite song to play?
That's a good question. We did we were in Lake Tahoe and we had a day off, and we pulled up to like an open mic night, and you know, like you always get up to those and there's like a bar full of people and you think like, oh, like what song could I play? And I played Drift Away by Doobie Gray, so like Give Me the Beat Boys and Free My Soul. And I was just thinking like that and like Country Roads might be like one of the most like universally known songs.
I was just gonna say those are universal.
That's what I mean. You go anywhere and play those types of songs.
Yeah, it's like anywhere you guys go and you play Country Roads, people are singing, right?
Well, I mean, we went across the pond and played Country Roads, and it was the same thing. Yeah, I mean, we played a bunch of shows. Like, never once have we played Country Roads and the crowd has not sang it back, you know.
Yeah.
Even as some like super thin show early on, like people are still singing it back. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, third category is CDs. If you had to choose 3 albums.
Are you a CD guy?
I'm not a CD guy. I'm not a CD guy. But
you're saying albums.
If you got to, if you were on an island, you only got 3 more.
And I had a CD player.
The CD player, anti-skip Walkman.
Okay. Yeah.
What would those 3 CDs be?
Dark Side of the Moon.
Okay.
Abbey Road. And Snipe Hunter by Tyler Childers.
All right. Yeah, I always ask these people these questions, and you never know what they're going to say. But Dark Side of the Moon. That's a good album to bring.
There's so much to it.
So much to it.
It's old.
What is the first CD you ever bought?
3 Doors Down. It was
come on now.
Yeah.
Kryptonite?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I hope he does well. He's going through some battles right now, that lead singer. Yeah, he just announced that he had cancer somewhere. Aww. Terrible. Song's still slappers, Kryptonite. Anyway.
That and well, speaking of another lead singer that went through some things, the Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park. So the 2 CDs I bought when I had for CD player, and I got those things. And
Linkin Park. I mean, that was pretty much, I feel like, in everyone's got to be, right?
So good.
I mean, I remember listening to that stuff for the first time, thinking like, this is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like,
dude, how they made that stuff back then is crazy.
Yeah, it's really wild.
They mixed like DJ, rock, rap, like all that stuff combined.
Just such a unique thing with like the turntables and everything. You're like, this is, I don't know what I'm listeing to, but I like it.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, prime time. Okay, third to last question is the death row meal. So the death row meal is whenever you're about to get put to death, you get one last meal. You get an appetizer, a main course, and a dessert. What is it?
So appetizer is going to be you know how they make like they cut the bone in half and then you could eat like the bone marrow out of that at like super fancy steak restaurants.
Oh yeah.
I would do that for an appetizer. And then my family has a like a red sauce recipe that it's actually a Grenadi red sauce recipe, and they do like 7 fishes in it. So like you're supposed to do it around Christmas time for like the Feast of the 7 Fishes.
That's what my wife does. Yeah.
Exactly. So like they have since made a cookbook and they have detailed the 7 Fishes red sauce recipe. And so I would make that and I would eat that pasta. And then for dessert, I'd do a classic New York style cheesecake.
That's the most chosen on here is a cheesesteak.
Right?
Or a cheesecake.
Cheesesteak
cheesesteak for dessert. You got, I mean, like that got to be a good perk of, you know, traveling around, right? Going to try a bunch of different food from different places.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you put on the rider? Anything weird?
No, honestly, like I'm just out to get like good bananas.
Bananas?
Yeah.
Banana guy, huh?
Yeah, big banana guy.
Have you noticed that the bananas have been not as good recently?
Yeah, man. I just got, what do you call them? A bundle, a bushel, whatever they are. I got bananas, and I let them sit on my counter, and they went from being green to brown.
Immediately.
There was no in between of like the good spot for the banana.
I know it's rough right now for bananas.
What's going on?
I don't know what's going on. The produce is off.
You ever had a sumo orange?
I just recently, probably like 3 weeks ago, because they didn't have regular oranges. They were on sale at Giant Eagle.
Yeah.
And I grabbed a couple, and they were the most delicious orange I've ever had.
They're the best.
Yeah.
Puts all other oranges to shame.
It really does. You're like, man, I never bought these before because they looked all weird. But honestly, they're easiest to peel too.
Easiest to peel, yeah. No seeds in them or anything.
Here you go. You heard it here first. Sumo oranges, that we're putting you onto it. Okay, so second to last question. You're getting ready to go on a what do you call them? You go on a run?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're getting ready to go on a run. You go into a gas station.
Mm-hmm.
What is a snack of choice that you pick?
Not much. See, I would say like trail mix, but Eric is allergic to nuts. So
no shit.
Oh yeah.
You can't have him on the bus.
No.
That
no
is
peanut butter. No nuts
insane.
No.
Oh,
I know.
God, that's
crazy.
such a hard hit.
We kind of think he's joking sometimes. We think he's doing it just to like fuck with us.
Oh man.
Because he said he was allergic as a kid, and then he hasn't got tested in like 20 years.
Just hadn't had a peanut for 20 years. He said, dude, I'll die if I eat one.
But he has this weird thing though where like, you smell peanut butter, you're like, man, that smells good. He thinks it smells bad.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's like his
body.
His like defensive response being like, that's a bad smell. Yeah.
That's a shame. Okay, so trail mix. That's a good answer.
Yeah. Well, I would do trail mix.
All right, last question. If you could have a conversation with anyone alive or dead, who would it be and why?
I think I would talk to Jim Morrison of The Doors, and I think I would talk to him because of all the people I would watch growing up, there was something about Jim Morrison where he would like captivate me when I watched him, and it wasn't even like he was doing all that crazy stuff on stage. I mean, he was at some point doing it, but sometimes he would just be standing there and I was like totally engaged in what he was doing. And you kind of think like what is charisma, or like what makes someone have like charisma, and I don't know what the answer is, but I know like Jim Morrison had it. And I'd love to talk to him, but I'd also like to just go back in time and like see a Doors show and watch that happen.
Yeah, it would be insane.
Pick his brain.
Definitely be wild.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Well, I mean, you made it. We did the podcast.
Did it.
You have you done podcasts before?
Couple, yeah.
It's good. Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate you taking some time out. When you guys are going back out here soon?
We are, yeah. We're leaving next week, and then we're actually going back to Europe for a little bit. So we've got some longer runs.
Is that the first time you went across the pond?
It'll be the second for us now.
Yeah. Pretty incredible?
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was so cool.
Yeah.
Being able to spend time in London was so fun, and traveling there is cool. And yeah, no complaints on that.
That got to be cool, but just to be at a place where you guys are playing music and they're like fully into it, got to be insane.
The crowds are like different there in a good way, though.
What do you mean?
They seem to not want to be like rowdy during the show. Like they seem to have a great time and all that stuff, but like they're there to like watch the music, and like it's not quite like a party like it is
they're
here.
like engaged.
Yeah, so like they're super quiet when you're playing, and you kind of think like they might not like it, but then very responsive when the song's done, and then you talk to some people afterwards and you're like, man, that was one of the best shows I've seen, or something like that, and you're like, cool, like I just didn't realize.
That's pretty wild. Can you usually get like a good read of the crowds like pretty immediately at different places?
I think so now. Yeah, I think we're pretty like in tune with that thing. Like there's little like markers during the show that I always kind of think like, if the crowd gets engaged at like this part, it's going to be a good show. Like you can kind of judge it like based off what's going on.
Yeah, like Another Leaf, like
even earlier in the set, like sometimes even if we're just walking out and there's like a millisecond of dead space, and if it's like maybe like the crowd's like percolating, you kind of have a feeling like this might be a good one. So yeah, we're pretty good at like telling that nowadays.
That's dope, man. Very excited to see you guys play in Red Rocks. That's going to be a pretty cool show. Never got to see a show there, but I've been there. Definitely a wild spot.
Are you getting there early, or are you doing
we're actually going to go a little bit early because it's our anniversary and my wife's birthday within 2 days.
Beautiful.
So we went there after we got married, so we were like, fuck it, this will be great.
Yeah.
Why not, right?
Yeah, it takes a second to like get used to the altitude if you're not used to it.
Yeah, it was weird whenever we were out there before, but yeah, is that interesting to like play in? Like you could like,
Get
is there any
tired
places
easily.
where you
Yeah.
like have gotten sick?
Not sick, but just like really winded and really tired. Actually, it was funny when we were working on the project we did last year. We recorded a lot of it on the road. One of the places we worked at was Flagstaff, which is pretty high altitude, and we ended up not using the vocal takes that we did in Flagstaff because Charles kind of just sounded like he was out of breath.
Really?
Yeah.
Makes that big of a difference. Wow.
Yeah, he was really like going for some things and just didn't quite have like the sustain that I'm used to hearing. And listening back, I was like, man, maybe we should try it here, what we're used to. And I just thought the take was better, so we ended up using that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Another thing that I'm sure people that are like fans that don't even really think about. It's just like, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, we're doing our best.
Doing your best, killing it, guys.
Thanks, Chad.
Now, please take a second, tell people where they could, find your music, what band you're in, the whole deal.
So you can find the studio page on Instagram or online. It's Music Garden Studios. If you want to just follow me on Instagram, my name's Torrence. Follow the Allegheny High for fun and weird posts that we do. And go follow Charles Wesley Godwin for a show that's coming up.
Hell yeah. Appreciate it as usual. Each and every week, we're back with another great guest doing great things for the city. Thank you for listening. Call you right back. There you go.
Sweet. That was awesome, man.
Yeah, man. I really appreciate it.